Welcome to the Language Alchemy Podcast, where we explore how our language and communication patterns directly impact our lives and relationships, and where you get transformative communication tools to bring forth more authenticity and compassion to all your relationships. Thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Alejandra Siroka, a communication teacher and coach who is devoted to helping multicultural individuals, change makers, and couples engaged in personal growth experience the lives and relationships they long for through the power of transformative communication. In today's episode, I want to clarify the difference between assertive and aggressive communication. If you've been following me for the last few episodes at the Language Alchemy podcast, then you probably listened to the 3-episode series on aggressive and violent communication. Those habits that have been so normalized that we do not even see them as aggressive anymore. If you haven't, I highly recommend you check out episodes 167, 168, and 169. And while I'm not including this episode as part of that series, it's important to clarify the difference between aggression and assertiveness. And why does this matter? For 3 reasons. 1, because you may receive feedback that you've been aggressive, when in fact, you were communicating assertively. And by the end of this episode, you will know whether to take that piece of feedback to heart or to discard it. Number 2, because you may believe that you are communicating assertively, but you may actually be communicating aggressively. And so your communication is going to hurt others even if you do not intend to do so. And number 3, because it's important to communicate assertively in many areas of your life. And in this episode, you'll get a clear example of what assertive communication sounds like. So get your heart and your ears ready to understand more about how you are communicating and to be more aware about the impact of your communication so that you can learn how to communicate more assertively. These 2 terms, aggressive and assertive, are sometimes used interchangeably, incorrectly, even though aggressive communication is viewed as negative and assertive communication is viewed as positive. It's common that females and people who identify as females and people of color and those who are seen as outsiders of the dominant culture are accused of being aggressive when in reality, they are communicating assertively. Conversely, when men and people who identify as male or people who are seen as members of the dominant culture hear they're communicating aggressively, they respond defensively by saying, "No, I'm not communicating aggressively. I am communicating assertively." As you can see, these 2 words, assertive and aggressive, have a lot of social charge. So what's the difference? Let's start with assertiveness. When you communicate with assertiveness, your communication is clear, direct, respectful, and it has the intention of being useful or productive. When you say something assertively, you are centered on your values. You have clarity about your needs. You are open to understand the needs of others. And you are willing to respect everyone's needs as equally important. Therefore, you show empathy and compassion. You are able to listen to different ideas, feelings, and needs from others. You are able to have compassionate understanding because you can ask questions to hear about the needs of others. When you speak, your communication is clear and direct, and it shows your interest, your concern, or your care. The outcome of assertive communication is likely to be positive. Yes, your assertive communication leads to dialogue, to the possibility of strengthening relationships because others feel a sense of connection with you and they have confidence in your ability to listen to them. This kind of trust leads to conflict resolutions. So it's a productive kind of communication. When you speak assertively, you enjoy valuable side effects such as less anxiety, fewer experiences of helplessness, and the confidence needed for healthy self-esteem. And how about aggressive communication? Aggressive communication, on the other hand, is about dominating and controlling the environment. That is to say, it's an attempt to intimidate, to overpower, and dictate another person's communications or behaviors. When you communicate aggressively, your intention is to have others obey you or to get what you want. So, what you say out loud is centered around your own needs, desires, feelings, or your own experience. And if others try to share theirs, you're not interested. You shut them down because you consider that your needs, your desires, your feelings, and experiences are way more important than anybody else's. Empathy or the willing to understand others are not in your awareness because you are focused on you. There's no openness or curiosity for the experience or the feelings of others. What comes out of your mouth is about directing others to do as you please. When you communicate aggressively, you do not ask questions about others, or you do not make clear requests. Make blunt statements and express demands. And you use any of the 12 communication habits I described in episodes 167, 168, and 169, which are interrupting or talking over others, correcting to be right, shaming, making yourself bigger through your body language, dismissing, criticizing derogatorily, blame shifting, bringing up the past, stonewalling, gaslighting, passive aggression, and name calling. Even if you haven't listened to the 3 episodes on aggressive and violent communication, you can see that the outcome of aggressive communication is negative. Why? Because it hurts others. It causes more pain. And these ways of relating damage relationships or turns healthy relationships into toxic ones. Aggressive communication comes from fear, and it leads to unhealthy power dynamics. When you communicate aggressively with the people in your life, others may be inauthentic with you because they may be afraid of you. They may shut down. They may be secretive, even about small things, because they don't want to get in trouble with you. And sometimes they may fight you back. And that creates volatile and explosive relationships. When you speak aggressively, though, you may enjoy a short-lived feeling of confidence or self-satisfaction, or a superficial sense that you are in control. But in the long run, it increases anxiety, fear, and loneliness because others do not want to be around you. If you communicate aggressively, I want to ask you to reconsider and to learn to transform your communication, unless you want to experience more anxiety, more loneliness, and more broken relationships. But I know that's not you. By now, you may be saying, but if the difference is clear, Alejandra, why do we confuse assertiveness for aggressiveness and vice versa? Well, because when we are about to communicate, they both feel similarly inside. So when a situation requires assertiveness, or when your communication is aggressive, you may feel a sense of heat rising from your belly center all the way to your head. The pigmentation on your face may increase. Your facial muscles may feel a little tight. You may experience a sense of firmness inside, of energy gathering and being sort of unshakable. And when you speak, your tone of voice is lower. It doesn't go up. No, it conveys authority. Your statements sound clear. So we can say that both assertiveness and aggressiveness come from the same source, the belly center of intelligence. But there is an important internal difference, and that has to do with intention. When you don't know what your intention is, you may feel uncomfortable communicating with assertiveness because you will confuse the internal sensations and being afraid of having the negative outcomes that come from aggressiveness. If you are a woman, a person of color, if you identify as LGBTQ, you will then be more likely to feel uncomfortable and cautious about communicating with assertiveness. So, as you feel the sensations arise in your body, you need to ask yourself a question about your intention. Yes, you need to say to yourself, what is my intention here? Is your intention to dominate? Then your communication will be aggressive and you will not have openness to consider others. Is your intention to show self-confidence and determination while having connection with others? Then your communication will be assertive. You will ask questions to understand others, and you will have room both for your experience and for the experience of others. So now let me give you a clear example of each. Let's say that it is Friday. You had a hard week. You are exhausted. You text your family and you have an exchange text message with them. You tell them how tired you are. You also tell them you're going to get takeout and nobody's going to cook tonight because you don't want to make a mess in the kitchen and then have to clean up. You remind everyone in your family that you're all hosting the brunch for grandma's birthday tomorrow. Then, when you get home, you find that the kitchen sink is full of dishes. The dining room table has glitter and other collage making items. And then it looks like your teenager who said earlier they were not feeling well spent the day in the living room watching TV and you see popcorn on the couch. What would aggressive communication sound like with this scenario? You would say something like, "Hey guys, what's going on here? This house is a mess. You all knew the kind of week I had. Who do you think I am? Your servant? We have people over tomorrow." So then one of your kids comes out and says, "Oh, it's just that I had a big project for school and I was really stressed out trying to finish it. That's why there's all that stuff on the table." And your response is, "I don't care if you were stressed out. You read my text message when I told you I was exhausted and I reminded you that grandma was coming tomorrow." So then your partner interrupts by yelling, "Why are you making such a big deal? Can you let the kids be kids?" As you can see, in this scenario, aggressive communication shows that nobody's listened to others and everyone is focused on themselves. In the end, people feel hurt, angry, or annoyed. Now, how about this same scenario, but instead of aggressive communication, you could communicate assertively? So you get home, and the first thing you do is you find your partner and you say, "Hi, honey, what happened in the house? I see there's popcorn on the couch, there's glitter on the table, and the sink is full of dishes. I am shocked because I texted everyone that I was tired, that I was going to get takeout, and that grandma was coming tomorrow, so I didn't want to make a mess. One of your kids hear you, they come to you and they say, yes, the glitter, that's me. I have a big project for school and I was really stressed out trying to finish it. So you look at them and you respond, oh, I know you've been working hard on your projects and I know you get stressed out. Well, now that you're done, can you please clear the table so we can have takeout? And if the glitter is on the furniture or the floor, please use the dustbuster. I really appreciate your help. Then you turn to your partner and you say, is Kay feeling any better? And your partner says, yes, we can still have grandma over tomorrow. You respond, that's great. Can you help with the kitchen as I get ready for dinner? In this example, you are assertive because you are letting your family know you are upset about the condition of the house. And while you let others know this, you are also still considering them and their experiences. Like when you tell your kid that you know they get stressed out doing school projects, or when you ask about how Kay is feeling, you still have room to understand others. And then you made clear requests and you asked for collaboration. Now that is assertive communication. Assertive communication is useful in any type of relationship. Relationships with coworkers, with family members, romantic partners, and friends. Assertive communication brings clarity, confidence, and compassion. Now I want to teach you 4 things to remember to communicate assertively. Number 1, have the intention to state your experience and have room for the experience of others. Number 2, use observational language, such as, there's popcorn on the couch, I see glitter on the table, rather than judgmental language like, everything is a mess. Number 3, have your voice come from your belly center, not your chest or your throat. Number 4, stay consistent and firm with your experience and make clear requests. I hope this episode was helpful to you. And if you struggle to communicate assertively and are willing to change that, then reach out to me for communication coaching. You can go to languagealchemy.com and sign up for a consultation. And now let's recap what you've heard in this episode. Today, we talked about aggressive and assertive communication. We discussed the differences and similarities, the intention and the impact, and we even talked about how these get confused. I also gave you a scenario with examples and taught you 4 things to remember to communicate more assertively. If this episode was beneficial for you, please be generous and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. And also share this episode with the people in your life. Thank you so much for listening, and a special thanks to all the participants of the monthly workshops at the SF Dharma Collective. Until next week, and as we say in Argentina, ciao ciao. Original music by Gary LaPoe. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.